In the quiet town of Briar Hollow, nestled between misty hills and whispering pines, the old cemetery sat at the edge of town like a forgotten thought. Ivy climbed its iron gates, and moss softened the edges of weathered headstones. Most avoided it after dusk except for one small visitor. But every night, just as the sun dipped below the horizon and the first stars blinked awake, a tiny grey kitten appeared. She was no bigger than a teacup, with wide green eyes and fur matted from sleeping in the damp grass. Without fail, she would leap onto the same grave-smooth marble, etched with the name Eleanor May Whitmore. 1921 to 1938, sit perfectly still, tail curled around her paws, gazing at the path that led to the cemetery gate. No one knew where she came from. She never approached anyone, never meowed for food, never flinched at thunder or owls. She simply sat, night after night, as if waiting. The townsfolk whispered. Some said Eleanor's spirit had called the kitten to keep her company. Others claimed the kitten was Eleanor herself, returned in feline form, but no one dared disturb her until Lily arrived. Lily was 12, new to Briar Hollow, and still raw from the loss of her grandmother 3 months prior. Her parents had moved her here for a fresh start, but all Lily felt was hollow. She missed her grandmother's stories, her lavender-scented hugs, the way she'd hum while baking apple pie. At night, grief pressed down like a heavy blanket, and sleep wouldn't come. One sleepless evening, drawn by a restlessness she couldn't name, Lily wandered toward the cemetery. She, or D, heard the stories about the ghostly kitten, but didn't he believe in ghosts only, in the ache of missing someone who wouldn't he come back? The gate creaked as she slipped inside. Moonlight silvered the stones, and crickets sang in the tall grass. And there, atop Eleanor's grave, sat the kitten. Lily froze. The kitten turned her head slowly, those green eyes locking onto hers. No fear, no flight, just quiet observation. Most would have walked away, but Lily felt something, a strange kinship. She took a step forward, then another. 10 feet away, she stopped. "Hello," she said softly. The word hung in the air like a breath held too long. The kitten blinked once. Then, to Lily's astonishment, she stood, stretched, and leapt lightly from the grave. She padded across the dewy grass and sat at Lily's feet, looking up expectantly. Tears welled in Lily's eyes. She knelt and held out her hand. The kitten sniffed it, then rubbed her cheek against Lily's knuckles, purr rumbling like distant thunder. From that night on, Lily visited the cemetery every evening. She brought a small blanket, sometimes a bit of tuna, always stories about her grandmother, about school, about how much she missed someone who understood silence. The kitten listened, curled in her lap, eyes half closed in contentment. Weeks passed. The kitten grew plumper, her fur softer, her purrs louder. Lily began to smile again. She joined the school choir. She made a friend who loved drawing cats. At night, she slept without nightmares. One evening, as autumn painted the trees in gold and crimson, Lily arrived at the cemetery to find the grave empty. Her heart lurched. She called the kitten S name she D, started calling her Ellie, but no answer came. She searched every row, every shadowed corner, nothing dejected. Lily sat on Eleanor's grave, hugging her knees. "Did I do something wrong?" she whispered. Then she noticed it. Tucked beneath the base of the headstone was a small folded note, weighted down by a smooth river stone. With trembling fingers, she opened it. "Thank you for saying hello." She needed someone to remember her. So did I. There was no signature, but Lily knew. The next morning, she returned with a collar-soft blue leather with a tiny silver bell. She left it on the grave just in case Ellie ever came back. She never did, but Lily kept visiting, not out of sadness, but gratitude. And sometimes, when the wind rustled through the pines just right, she swore she heard the faintest jingle, like a bell carried on a breeze. Years later, as a grown woman, Lily would bring her own daughter to the cemetery. She'd point to Eleanor's grave and say, "That's where I met my first friend." And on quiet nights, when the moon was full and the air smelled of rain, a small grey shape could sometimes be seen sitting atop the marble stone, watching the path, waiting not for a ghost, but for kindness to return.